In this module, we will discuss about the CSS. CSS is what? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on the screen, paper, or in other media. CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. External style sheets are stored in CSS file. CSS is a language that describes the style of an HTML document. Now, why we use CSS? CSS is used to define styles for your web pages, including the design, layout, and variations, and display them for different devices and screen sizes. Now, CSS solved a big problem. HTML was never intended to contain text for formatting a web page. HTML was created to describe the content. Development of large website where fonts and color information were added to every single page became a long and expensive process. So, to solve this problem, the W3C created CSS. CSS removed the style formatting from the HTML page. Now, CSS saves a lot of work. The style and definition are normally saved in external.css files. With an external style sheet file, you can change the look of an entire website by changing just one file. Now, syntax of the CSS. The selector points to the HTML element you want to style. The declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by the semicolons. Each declaration includes a CSS property name and value separated by a colon. A CSS declaration always ends with the semicolon, and declaration blocks are surrounded by curly braces. Now, I am going to explain you a basic example of CSS. Now, this is a basic example of the CSS. Run your code with any browser. So the output is hello world, and these paragraphs are styled with CSS. The fonts are in the red color which we are given into the CSS. So this is the basic example of the CSS. Now the ID selector. The ID selector uses the ID attribute of an HTML element to select a specific element. The ID of an element should be unique within a page, so the ID selector is used to select one unique element. To select an ID element with a specific ID, write a hash character followed by the ID of the element. The class selector selects elements with a specific class attributes. To select elements with a specific class, write a period character followed by the name of the class. Now, I am going to explain you example of the ID selector and the class selector. So this is the example of the ID selector and the class selector. In this paragraph tag, the ID is equals to para1, which we are given into the paragraph tag, and the formatting of this paragraph is here. Hash para1 text align is equals to center and color is equals to red. Again, in this paragraph tag, the class is given, class is equals to center. The output is hello world, and this paragraph is not affected by the style. The hello world which we are given into the ID paragraph, and this paragraph is not affected by the style, is given into the class paragraph. So this is the basic example of the ID selector and the class selector. Now CSS has three type of style file. CSS has external style, internal style, and inline style. The very first is external style. Write an external style sheet. You can change the look of an entire website by changing just one file. Each page must include a reference to the external style sheet file inside the link element. The link element goes inside the head section. An external style sheet can be written in any text editor. The file should not contain any HTML tag. The style sheet file must have been saved with a CSS extension. Now, Internal style. An internal style sheet may be used if one single page has a unique style. Internal style are defined within the style element inside the head section of the HTML page. Now, inline style. An inline style may be used to apply a unique style for a single element. To use inline style, add the style attribute to the relevant element. The style attribute can contain any CSS property. Now, I am going to explain you an example of the styles. So, this is the example of the CSS style. Here, between the head tag, there is a link tag which is the external file of the CSS, and in the style tag, this is the internal style of the CSS. Body background color is linen, and in H1 color is maroon and margin left from 40 px. Now in the paragraph tag, inline style is here. The color is equals to blue, margin left 30 px. So this is the basic example of the CSS style. Now open with any browser. This is the output. This is a heading which we are given into the H1 tag. The color is maroon and the margin from the left is 40 px, and this is a paragraph which we are given into the inline style, the paragraph tag. So this is a paragraph, the font color is blue and the margin from the left is 30 px, and the background color is linen which we are given into the external file. Now CSS style. The very first is CSS color. Colors in the CSS are most often specified by a valid color name like red, an RGB value like RGB 25500, and hex value is like this. All the colors set by using colors name. Now CSS background color. The background color property specify the background color of an element. Now I am going to explain you example of the CSS color and the CSS background color. So this is the basic example of the CSS color and the CSS background color. The background color is light blue which we are given into the body. In the body tag, we are given H2 tag for heading color name examples. In the H2 tag, style is equals to background color is red, red background color. Close the H2 tag. Now again open the H2 tag. Give the color is green. Now in next H2 tag, give the color blue and white. In next H2 tag, give the color orange. In next H2 tag, give the color yellow, and in another next H2 tag, give the color cyan. So close the notepad, open the program with any browser. So the background color is light blue, and this is the heading which we are given into the H2 tag colors name example. Red background color which we are given into the H2 tag, and color we are given red. Green background color, blue background color, and white text color, and so on. So this is the example of the CSS colors. Now CSS border. The border style property specifies what kind of border to be displayed. The following values: dotted, define a dotted border; dashed, define a dashed border; solid, define a solid border; double, define a double border; groove, define a 3D border; ridge, define a 3D ridged border; inset, define a 3D inset border; outset, define a 3D outset border; none, define no border; hidden, define a hidden border. So I'm going to explain you example of the CSS border. So this is the example of the CSS border. In the style tag, we are given the style of border: dotted, dashed, solid, double, groove, ridge, inset, outset, none, hidden, and mixed, dotted, dashed, solid, and double. In the h2 tag, the border style property, in the paragraph tag, this property specifies what kind of border to be displayed. Now, open the program with any browser and the output is this, the border style property. This property specifies what kind of border to be displayed. Now the very first is dotted border, dashed border, solid border, double border, a groove border, a ridge border, an inset border, an outside border, no border, a hidden border, or a mixed border. So this is the example of the CSS border. Now CSS margin. The CSS margin property are used to generate space around elements. The margin property sets the size of the white spaces outside the border. With the CSS, you have full control over the margin. There are CSS properties for setting the margin for each side of an element, top, right, bottom, and left. Now CSS padding. The CSS padding properties are used to generate space around content. The padding clear an area around the content of an element. With the CSS, you have full control over the padding. There are CSS properties for setting the padding for each side of an element, top, right, bottom, and left. Now CSS text formatting. This text is styled with some of the text formatting properties. The heading uses the text align, text transform, and color properties. The paragraph is indented, aligned, and the space between the character is specified. Now, the very first is CSS text color. The color property is used to define the color of the text. Here, the color is blue and the color is green. Now, text alignment. The text align property is used to set the horizontal alignment of a text. A text can be left or right, aligned, centered, or justified. Now, I am going to explain you example of the text formatting. So, this is the example of the CSS text formatting. In the H1, we are given text align center. In H2, text align left. In H3, text align right. And in the body, the color is blue. In H1, take heading 1, H2 take heading 2, and H3 take heading 3. And in the paragraph tag, the three headings above are aligned center, left, and right. Now close the notepad. Open your program with any browser. The output is heading 1, which is in center, heading 2, which is in left, heading 3, which is in right, and the three heading above are aligned center, left, or right. So this is the example of the text formatting. Now CSS form. The look of an HTML form can be greatly improved with CSS. Now I am going to explain you an example of the CSS form. In CSS form, in the style tag, we are given input type is equals to text. For text box, width is equals to 100%, padding is 12 px, margin is 8 px, display inline block, border 1 px, border radius 4 px, and box sizing border box. Now, for the button, input type is equals to submit, and this is the styling of the button. In the label tag, we are given first name, input type is equals to text, ID is equals to F name, name is equals to first name, and placeholder is equals to your name. This is the first text box for first name. Now again, input type is equals to text, ID is equals to name, name is equals to last name, or placeholder is equals to your last name. This is the next text box for last name. Label for country, select ID is equals to country and name is equals to country. Option values Australia, Canada, USA. Close the select tag, input tag, open the input tag, input type is equals to submit and value is equals to submit. Close the form tag and close the div tag. Now open your program with any browser. So this is the output. First name, last name and country. In first name you can type your first name. In last name you can type your last name. The country is Canada and then click on the submit button. So this is the basic example of the CSS form.